Well, hello and welcome to Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. I'm luxuriating in the back of a Lamborghini Espada here, and the reason why we're focusing on this is because it's no mean undertaking to do a full and total retrim on one of these interiors, as Craig has done. He's actually retrimmed the whole of the inside of this car. Headlining, carpet, leather, mouse hair on top of the dashboard. We've refurbished the aluminium where the switches and gauges go, everything. And it's taken 11 of Italy's finest hides to do this, in the colour of sinape or mustard in English. And it's a massive job, and it's funny because I've become quite blasé about these things, about how long these jobs take, because it's a long time since, I don't think we've ever done every last shred of interior trim on an Espada in one go. And it's a very big job, it's a very expensive job. Bearing in mind this was the fastest four-seater car in the world when it was built in 1969. And this car was actually, it had a retail price in the UK of 10,250-ish. A Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, which was supposedly the epitome of luxury at the time, was a mere £7,690. I mean, you could buy a very serious house for those sort of figures in 1969, but the Espada was, we forget it was an extremely expensive, finely crafted car. To put that into perspective, a Miura was considerably cheaper than an Espada. So it's a lot of expense, a lot of work. People bought them, so they obviously considered them value for money as such. In that era of time, they obviously wanted the best of the best of the best. But as with all cars of this age, over 50 years old, they've had a life. And this one is no exception. It was trimmed in Alcantara, all over, everything. Even the headlining was black Alcantara type, suede type material, and it all looked very oppressive. Craig has literally exactly brought the old interior back to where it was. It's no mean job to do this. It really isn't. That's why I'm dedicating a whole episode to it, because it is great craftsmanship. To do a job like this, to this extent, we've had to, as I say, we've had to repair wiring. The heater valve was stuck behind the dashboard. This has been a big job. You're talking £25,000–30,000 to do this work. But as I say, the car was, it works out at about 22–23% more than a Rolls-Royce new, and I'm sure quite a significant quantity of that went to the fabulous interior that this car had from new. Leather was standard, yeah, it's quite a place to be sat in the back here. So we're going to just look at what Craig's been doing, how he has gone about carrying out this total retrim of an Espada Series 3, in this case, interior. Well, this car has been brought in by Lamborghini historian and authority Olivier Nmesh, and his knowledge of these cars continues to amaze me, and the factory and the staff and all the rest of it. But we're doing this car for him, and that's why we're pushing the boat out to make sure it's as perfect as it possibly can be. Well, Craig, here we are back in your little emporium, your little corner of the workshop, and you've been a busy little bee. So the Espada, it was, well, you've used 11 hides on the interior.
Yeah. A lot.
And which is the same as Rolls-Royce used in a Silver Shadow or a Bentley T series, actually. A lot, in other words.
Yeah.
And this looks fabulous. So this is one of the front seats anyway.
Yeah.
Trying to work out which one it is. Just tell me a little bit about what we were up against, what you found. We don't like criticising other people's work here. We're not in the We're not in the business of doing that. We're old school gentlemen here. But nevertheless, what did you find?
Well, when it turned up, it was everything was trimmed in black Alcantara. So this was all trimmed in Alcantara. There was no piping, it had been top sewed. All the flutes were the same size, and they need to be, the one with the stamp is smaller than the plain one. So we had to repattern that. Everything had been, like I said, trimmed in Alcantara, but it also had foam on the other side. So on the back panel there, that was all plain without the perforations, and it had foam underneath it. So we had to take the cover off that and then strip it down to bare metal, because that was glued. This is glued onto the bare metal, and if we didn't get it smooth, it would be like, you know, the lunar landscape. Yeah. The back of this is sewn as well. There's that bar that needs to be.
Wow.
So I had to sew that as a tube and then try and get it on. Yeah, banger gone.
Wow. Wow. And all your little perforations are beautifully lined up here.
Yes.
Not quite sure Bertoni would have been as precise as that.
Yeah, we have got another one over there, and it's like they start off with a perimeter shape and then go for it. It was all over the place, so we sort of tried to neaten up that. So I did a rubbing of an original one, and then tried to divide all the numbers. Yeah, because
I'm losing the will to live.
But it would just look like we'd gone mad if we tried to reproduce it, because it was they were just all over the place. Sure. So, and also that we had a tool cut to do like a diamond perforation. So we went through 4 of those as well just to do the two. Yes, yeah.
The back, yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
Right, so this is Sanape, which is Italian for mustard.
Yes.
It was a very popular colour at the time, and you were mentioning earlier, this is, there's essentially 2 basic types of car leather. One is embossed grain, where they run the whole hide through a machine and it actually embosses a fine pattern on the leather.
Yeah.
And the advantage of that is that if you have 2 pieces of leather, you can guarantee if you sew them together, the grain and thickness is going to be roughly the same.
Yeah.
This is natural grain leather, which means what you see is what you get.
Yes, yeah. It'll have scars on it. You have to look not only on the face but underneath as well, because it might have a scar under there. So, and then when you start pulling it and stretching it, that'll go, or it'll sort of open up as well as you're pulling it. So you have to isolate all the scars as well on it,
right.
Not only on the face,
on the
but
back
on the back as well. Yeah,
scars on the backside are not
You don't
good.
want them.
No. So you have to plot which bits you're at the risk of butting up against each other.
Yeah, the best cuts. Yeah, of it you do. Yeah,
which you've clearly done. So, I mean, this is fantastic work. But these were a tremendously expensive car when they were new. And I think one of the reasons is because of the interior.
Yeah, it's everything's either got piping on or top sewed. So it's not like 2 panels, you know, butted up against each other. So there you go, trim that. So everything's got an element of detail to it.
Right. It's a brilliant model. I mean, this is very, very, very fine piping. This is smaller than normal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 1.5. That is, so it needs to be small and tighter at least. So usually, if you used, I think it might be 3 mil. We've got all the piping here. That's like, and after you've got the leather on it, it does start to look quite massive.
Yeah. I mean, this is a trade secret. We're not going to say how we arrived at this. That's what happens here stays here, Craig.
Yeah.
But then we move on to, well, we can share this for probably the first time, really. This is the beautiful embossing pattern. I mean, this is only the Italians could come up with something like this. This is what Bertoni did on the early Miuras. When Murers started going on to leather, they had that pattern on, and the espadas, right from the word go, had this pattern, and it used to be rolled with a tool at Bertone.
Oh, right.
It would cut chunks out of it, but the original tooling from Bertone is now dead. Effectively, it's worn out. We devised a laser cutting of exactly the right depth to give exactly the same finish.
Yeah.
And now other people around the world have caught up. We were one of the first people to do it. But it does produce this utterly lovely design, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's
again, it's
it
not
just makes
cheap
it look
to do.
authentic.
Yeah. It's how it was done.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was BMW a few years ago, who you could have leather interior as an optional extra, and you could have something like this, whether it was called Napa. I know Napa is a type of leather, and it was £8,000 extra just for that leather.
Yeah.
As opposed to the original. I thought, wow, and this is on a whole different level. This is you've literally handmade this.
Yeah.
And what about this here? So
that was the mock-up for the size of the flutes. Because, like I said, when it came in, the Alcantara flutes that they'd done, they just took that dimension and just divided them up by how many they wanted. But I had to know how many there were, and we do, because we've got another one over there. But even the flutes on that one, you couldn't quite tell what size they'd gone for, because they were all sort of different. Right. They were all different sizes. So I did a few mock-ups to see. So that flute needed to be small enough or different enough from the big flute, but not too much. But it needed to be different enough for you to know that you hadn't made a mistake.
Right.
If you see what I mean, yes.
Well, that's how, This looks exactly how they were to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, this interior is literally swathed in leather, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
it
everywhere.
is. Yeah.
And you've made up a new headlining for it.
Yes. Yeah.
New carpets.
We've done the dash.
Dashboard has been done
with
mouse hair on the top.
Yes, because it was trimmed in Alcantara again. Yeah. Even the fascias where the instruments go, they trimmed that in Alcantara. So again, we take the Alcantara off, and it just leaves a residue of glue and Alcantara fluff, so we had to strip that down as well.
So you're talking about the aluminium?
Yes, yeah.
So we've had to restore all those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh. But it is, I can't imagine there were many cars built at the time. Probably the only one that springs to mind is the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and even the Phantom 6 at that time had West of England cloth in the back seat. So the chauffeur's area was leather, because he was the poor relation, supposedly, and the back seat, because there were no seat belts in it, it had West of England cloth, so people didn't slide around in the because West of England cloth is quite grippy.
Yeah.
But now, can we just have a look at the original carpet? Because
right. When the car arrived, the carpet had been trimmed down the sill, down onto the floor, up the tunnel, across the tunnel, down onto the floor, and then up the sill. So it was like a massive piece that they glued on and cut and tucked, and then they'd put mats on over the top of that. So just to get that out was a war.
Right.
So also, none of this is bound as well, apart from this little random parts. So all the parts should be bound, even the bits on the sill that you don't see. There's a bit when it runs up against the seal, and then there's a piece of chrome trim that goes over that, and so you don't even see what you've bound underneath it.
So this is sort of heading towards the way modern cars are put together. So I can't remember, some years ago, probably late 70s, early 80s, they started bringing in moulding one-piece carpets. And you actually buy the whole carpet with all the undulations and holes and everything pre-cut, and you just launch it into the car
Yes,
from a suitable
yeah.
distance, and it goes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
lo
there
and
it
behold,
is,
you
yes.
have a carpet.
Yeah.
But this being a hand-built 50-year-old car, this
Yes.
is a million miles away from that.
Yes, yeah.
Every piece of carpet is individually. So this is one section.
Yes,
that's one
yeah.
section.
There's another bit that's in that box, which because I had to cut at it to get it. So imagine a carpet that's the size of that. It was a struggle just trying to pull it, and everything was glued on. That's the thing with that car. Everything was glued on, and then because it was trimmed in Alcantara, you pulled that off, and then it just left the second residue of Alcantara. You couldn't skive it any better if you tried. So even though we'd stripped all the Alcantara off, it still had a residue over it. So it was just like it was a war even getting it to the point where it was down to, where it was bare, and we
Right.
could then trim it.
Okay, we've whatever the word is, returned that car to
Yes.
its original specification.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look at a bit of the carpet you've done, because
Okay.
you've done a binding here, which is absolutely beautiful. So, because quite often I've seen an edge cut here.
Yeah, sometimes people will, they'll cut the binding and then they'll put it like that, and then they'll just sew along all the way, and then cut the binding back so it's as close to the stitch as possible. But you get this suede-y feel to it when it's, imagine you've cut that back and you've got the sewing there, and it starts to kick up, and also it's not necessarily the colour of the face as well.
Yes,
You've got that
yeah.
suede feel to it, and it just looks it looks a bit shoddy sometimes, and you can't and you can't go back and say, well, I think I'll do it another way now
Yeah.
when you've done them all. So
But this
so what I do is, imagine I sew a line that way,
Yeah.
and then pull that over there, obviously not with the stamp on, and then sew another line there. So you've got this nice edge, so it's not...
Isn't that beautiful? Stunning, stunning, stunning. And again, this is, dare I say it, this is labour intensive, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
This
But
is,
it looks so much better. I personally think it looks better to do it like that.
yeah. This is top craftsmanship, Craig. It really is. I mean, and this is obviously you've sewn the heel mat
Yes,
in there
yes,
as well.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that looks just stunning. And there the back. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, and it's glued as well by the feel of it.
Well, yes, because I pull it round and glue it and then go.
Right. That's quite a heavy bit of kit. That.
It is, yeah. It is very heavy.
That's
Yes.
like a.
It's got those. I snip those off. I don't like to on the sewing machine. I don't like to back. There's a thing on the sewing machine where you back tack and it'll go and it'll stop it from running. Now, if you do it on that, it may go through the rubber. So you don't want to cut up the rubber. So I stop and then I pull it through, and then I tie a knot in it, because it's nicer like that.
Okay.
It doesn't damage what's on this. Anyway.
I think I can safely say
Yeah.
I will never be in the business of trimming cars, really. I can't imagine there were many cars made at the time with as an out there an interior as this,
Yeah.
really.
It does seem like it's trimmed within an inch of its life.
It does.
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, congratulations, Craig. You've done a stunning job here. You really have. Yeah, it's brilliant work. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, what more can we say? I know that's very nerdy, and it's very nerdy and wordy, but that's what people want. So thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll be back with something else very soon.